Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes.
Yeah, like if you like run so long that you just start shitting yourself, like I think you're doing it wrong, you know? Like you ran enough. Like just stop. Like we get it. You're good at running and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, like I get wanting to push yourself because it's fun and it's rewarding and stuff like that. But at what point do you like say enough is enough, you know?
Yeah, I wonder if it's like kind of a weird form of addiction.
Yeah.
You know, like some people are addicted to like food or drugs or whatever. Maybe that's just like a weird coping thing where like that's how they deal with all their bullshit.
Yeah.
And they become like addicted to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not an athlete per se. you could tell by my body type, but I don't know. That's just speculation.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And I feel like honestly, like everybody is kind of trying to figure out a way to like deal with the existential crisis that is life.
Yeah, if you find anything, let me know. I'm still looking.
And everybody deals with it in their own way. Some people may turn to alcohol. Some people may turn to drugs. You know, maybe these guys just really like running, and that's how they deal with it. Because it just like you've started exercising lately, and you've been doing a lot of cardio, and like I've tried running a couple times, and I want to do it more because the way you feel after running is amazing. And it does just kind of take away all that extra energy or something, and it just things seem better after you've gone for a run. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I've said multiple times over the last little while that like exercise is the best antidepressant I've ever used.
Yeah.
Because like a couple months ago I did this like fitness competition with like 5 other friends.
Yeah.
So like I was very motivated because a couple people in the group, I didn't like them. So I was like, I'm not losing to these fucks, you know? Like, and it was like financially based too. I'm like, I can't afford to lose. So we like basically copied like, the Joe Rogan model where we just had heart rate monitors and got points for heart rate zones. And like during this, 4 or 5 weeks, I worked out like 5 times a week and like my anxiety just evaporated, and I felt so good. And I never like went for long runs, but I did like other cardio, lifted weights, and like I think it's like analogous to the runner's high. You do get this like weird like primal surge of energy where you're just like, I just want to fucking fight and just like fuck shit up, you're just like so amped up. I don't know. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like that runner's high is super real. I remember I went for a run and I just like kept going. I think I ran 5 kilometers and I got back and I went and I just like sat down on my couch. And I just like melted into the couch and I was like, I feel so good right now. Like I felt stoned and I like hadn't smoked any weed whatsoever. That endorphin rush is like a real thing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, did you end up like, did you experiment with diet and stuff as well, or?
Yeah, that's something I've been focusing on a lot too, just because, I don't know, I'm learning a lot more about nutrition and your like microbiome and how all that stuff affects your mood and your energy levels. Especially lately, because like, yeah, February is just notoriously horrible for like mood and how it affects people. You have a lot less sunlight, and it's just like harder to function, I guess.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I feel that way anyway. So yeah, I've been really trying to focus on eating a lot better and not like just pumping garbage into my body. And yeah, it's been positive to see like how much can change by like just changing what you eat. I think it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And like people that have gone to the gym way longer than me tell me like, you know, the diet is like exponentially more important than the actual exercise.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's true, but it could be true. It would make sense to me if it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I mean, I've also heard that the diet is like, if you want to at least get a super fit body, the diet is more important than the exercise for sure.
Yeah.
Like if you want like a 6-pack or whatever, or I think it's impossible to get a 6-pack. I'm just gonna say it. And like be a happy
without steroids.
Yeah. And be a happy, like functional human being.
Yeah.
Because food is good, and everybody likes to eat pizza.
Yeah, dude, pizza's legit.
Yeah.
Man, I just bought these like beetroot crust pizza and like spinach crust pizza.
Yeah.
And it's still good, man. It's still pizza. Like I'm like, oh, how can I like eat less shitty but still have pizza? You know, it's like a halfway meeting in between.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, pizza's fucking delicious.
Yeah.
Shout out to Senor's, best pizza in Calgary. Have you ever had it?
No.
Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the best pizza I've ever had.
That's
It's up in the Northeast. It's really popular with I work at the airport, so a lot of people go down there after work, and yeah, it's a fan favorite.
Nice. I don't know if I will ever have it because it's in the Northeast, and I'm far as fuck away from the Northeast.
All right, I'll bring you some one day.
Okay.
Everyone needs to try it.
That's the thing is, if I hear something in Calgary is in the north, unless I really like, unless it's a friend or something, it's really like I'm probably never ever gonna do that because Calgary's so big.
Yeah, it is pretty big now. Yeah, even like my house to your house is 50 kilometers.
Yeah.
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 Legit.
It's like a half-hour, 45-minute drive, easy.
Oh yeah, like 35 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all city driving too. That's not like, well, I guess you can take the ring road or whatever, which is awesome. But
yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. Fuck.
It's amazing, like how easy it is for like distance to be a barrier between friends.
Yes.
Like I've noticed, like, you know, it's kind of like a friendship filter. If someone lives kind of far and they're not willing to like drive to come see you,
Yeah.
you kind of like learn who the real homies are or not. You know,
Exactly.
they're like, man, you live like 30 minutes away. And I'm just thinking like, oh my God, a whole half an hour?
Yeah, I
That's
know.
crazy, man.
It's not even that
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, like, I'll talk to you later. No, I won't, because you're a fucking asshole, you know? Like, you can't even put in a half an hour drive to see a friend. I don't know, man.
If a half an hour drive is keeping you away from a friend, I don't think you're very good friends at all.
Yeah. Like, maybe you should find some new friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Like, it's different when I don't want to go for a half an hour drive to, I don't know, go shopping or go to a specific store or something like that. But to go see a person is like entirely different.
Oh, totally, yeah. And like, I live in the boonies, so like I kind of get it, but I don't know, man. I have a different mindset, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just like, if I want to hang out with someone, I'll go see them.
Well, yeah, well, exactly.
It doesn't matter how far away it is, really.
Yeah.
Or it shouldn't.
No. Like, obviously, if somebody lives in a different city, that is more of a barrier to friendship, but that also doesn't mean that you're never going to see that person if you want to be that person's friend.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think as you grow older, friendships become more valuable. Like, in your younger days, you could just, like, friends would come, friends would go. It wouldn't be a big deal. But like as you grow older, like you probably become more comfortable with yourself, and you're like more, what you want out of a friend as well. But friendships just seem more valuable. So like when that friend does move away, you're still willing to go see that person because it's just like it's more valuable, I think.
Yeah, like I think maybe part of it is just like when you're a kid, you don't really like understand the like transitory nature of life.
Yeah.
And like you're like, oh man, maybe this is like a little bit too dark a way of thinking about it, but like you're like, oh man, how many more times will I see this person before I die? Like or like
It's true.
I don't know if it's just if other people think that way or if it's just my morbid brain, but
no, dude, I think that way all the time. Like I always think about like how fragile life actually is, and that like you could literally die at any moment.
Yeah, I think about that a lot too.
Yeah, so I try to, the people who I do want to see, I try to see as much as possible, and the people who are just whatever or I don't like, I just cut them out of my life completely or don't make an effort because life is short, and I want to spend it with the people I care about, and it could end at any second.
Yeah, man, I like the other night I got home. I was feeling, pretty bad. It's been a long month. And a couple weeks ago, my friend made these like mushroom chocolates. And they're supposed to be a gram per chocolate. So I was just like, a gram is really tame. I'm just going to eat one, take the edge off, just like feel a little bit better, whatever. But I really don't think it was 1 gram per chocolate because I got fucked. And one of the things that I was like thinking about during that experience, the unexpected, trip, I thought I was just gonna kind of feel good and whatever, be able to function. That did not happen. But one of the things I was thinking about is like a lot of the times I will like hold back from saying something like affectionate or like because people just kind of get locked in this like normal zone where it's like weird to maybe say that, or like it's just like too much maybe, and people kind of just go about their lives or whatever. But this is like another maybe like friendship filter. Like I don't want to be afraid to be like, yo man, like I love you. You're like, I really enjoy the shit you do, like I'm so glad I met you. Yeah. Like I don't want to be afraid to say that. And if people get weirded out, like fuck them, dude, whatever. Maybe they're not supposed to be your friends either. Yeah. I don't know. Like we only do have a certain amount of time, and I don't know if people are like not on that same level. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard for sure because some people will find that strange, but I know what you mean though, because I've tried to do, or I do actually do the same thing, like, and I'm lucky enough that I've found people who just accept that, Sometimes randomly I'll just be thinking about somebody, I'm like, fuck, I appreciate that person. I'm like, well, why don't I just tell them? So then I'll text them and be like, oh, fuck, dude, you're awesome, and I love you. And they're like, I know exactly how you feel because I used to feel weird about doing it, but like 9 times out of 10, you get the most positive response back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I texted you before I came over and told you this is kind of like a weird sort of therapy because for some reason I just like feel free to talk about like weird, deep and dark thoughts. But yeah. So on the 1st of this month, I like broke up with my girlfriend, and I've been having this like phenomenon that I've never really had before. And for a while I thought it was crazy because like I couldn't really find much about it on the internet. But like for the first time, I started to like really, like crave like physicality, like have these physical needs. Like I just want to like touch someone. Like it didn't even have to be sexual or anything, but just like cuddle or hug or whatever. Yeah. But it was like it was like way more intense than I ever experienced. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, is this like, do other people feel this way too? Like I don't know. And I almost got to this point where I thought I was like going insane because I'm like, man, why do I want like this physical, connection so much?
Yeah.
Like, is it just purely tied to like breaking up and having that piece of my life gone, or is it just like a human need that everybody like, craves or wants to some degree, and my like, meter is just like turned up higher than average? Like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, and like I think that it's everybody experiences that, and that's why people maybe jump into relationships so quickly after breaking up with people, or there's
Yeah.
rebound people and stuff like that, because you need that in your life, and you've become used to it in a relationship. You've become used to cuddling, you've become used to sex, you've become used to whatever. And when that all of a sudden stops, I think that you still need that stuff, or because it's good stuff, it feels
Yeah.
good. All that stuff is awesome. Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I'm kind of like, I guess, a late bloomer, you might say, in that regards. It took me a while to, probably until my mid 20s, late 20s even, to like really even kind of start like putting myself out there in terms of relationships and stuff. Like I had relationships before that, but they were always kind of short and weird and stupid, and I kind of walled myself off after that and those weird relationships and stuff, and went for a good solid amount of time where I was just like super introverted, super walled off to like everybody. And so like I didn't have that like physical connection with people. And then I opened up, and like I've been, out there now and kind of dating and shit, and that has opened me up to more of like the physical connection with people and stuff like that. But I felt that way in between relationships at point where it was just like I feel lonely, for like the first time. It's like I feel lonely, which was weird. Like lonely in a way that like my friends couldn't help, lonely in a way that was new and different. It's hard to explain.
Yeah. No, I definitely like relate to the late bloomer thing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost like I didn't have it consistently before, so I didn't know what I was missing.
Yeah.
But having had it and lost it, like I don't think I realized how big of like a hole it was filling.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, oh damn, like this sucks, like having consistent like, just like physical time with your partner, even if it's, not sex, like just cuddling, just, being next to each other. Yeah, it was just this like thing that I didn't really have consistently, and then it was gone, and I was like, oh wow. And then I just started feeling it intensely, like damn, yeah, I'm lonely as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Someone just hug me, man. Just
That.
going around work hugging people.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, you gotta get yours.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thing. Like, no matter how much a human says they're independent or whatever, I think everybody needs some sort of connection with other human beings. Whether that be like one significant other, or you can spread that out through many people or whatever. Like, I don't know, but I think it's important to form deep and intimate relationships with other human beings, and that doesn't necessarily have to be sexual or romantic, but just in general, intimate relationships with human beings is important.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like going back to like just the time thing, like as we get older, I think you kind of just like hone in on the ones you want to focus on, like you said, and like really develop those, and like, create those whatever handful of bonds with the people that you want to make them with. Yeah.
And like you become way less tolerant of like fakeness and like bullshit and stuff like that, and you kind of know more or at least I've found, you kind of start to know more about what you are looking for. You know what I mean? I had no idea what I was looking for before I started like getting back into it and stuff, and experiencing some heartbreak and stuff like that. And that, but it really kind of refocused my life in a way. It made me think about the person I want to be, and like where I want to take my life and stuff like that, and what I'm looking for out of a relationship, and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And it's stuff I didn't know before because I didn't put myself into those situations. I didn't put myself into the fire. It was all speculation before that, or mostly speculation before that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it came from like this inherent fear of rejection or whatever it came from, or why I was out of it for so long, but one point I was just like, okay, enough is enough. I need to like dive into this and like do what scares me, because it scared me for some reason. And also, dating sucks.
Yeah, it really can suck a lot.
It kind of sucks. Like when you are seeing a bunch of like, you know, you see one person, you have a conversation, you're like, whatever. Then you go and you see the next person, you have a conversation, you're like, you feel like you're having the same conversation with different people, and then it just doesn't, and it's an effort, and sometimes it's really weird, and
Yeah, it's also not cheap.
No, it's not.
You know, yeah, I don't know.
You have to go out and do stuff, and
it's not like financially cheap, and it's not cheap with your time. Like your time
it's so valuable.
Is valuable, and it takes time to like, you know, make this initial effort, and then like have this initial like back and forth, and then setting up a time to meet, and you know, going to these places, having the conversation over and over with different people.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, just like organizing it all. Like it's it's a bit tedious, like
it is. But yeah, it's a big time thing. But I guess that's what like that's essentially what a relationship is too. Is like you're looking for somebody who's worth that time.
Yeah.
Worth that investment in time. And I guess that's the same with any relationship. Again, going back to even just friends, it's you, as you grow older, I think you realize that your time is valuable, because it does become more and more valuable because you have less and less of it for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it doesn't get more valuable, but it's just perceived that way because, like, I don't know, you're getting older and you're like, oh, you know, I'm just inching closer to death. I better, like, you know, use what time I have left valuably.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you're 10 and you have no idea about the concept of death, really. And
you have no idea about the concept of time.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just, it's just.
Do you remember, like, summer vacations? Like, summer vacations seemed like they were years long.
Yeah.
It was 2 months. Like, 2 months goes by like that now. Like, it's already fucking March. It was just New Year's. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's weird, yeah. Like, when you're in, like, the shit of the day-to-day fucking grind, it, like, seems like it lasts forever almost to me. Mm-hmm. But then when you look back and you're like, fuck, man. Yeah, like, I was just, like, hanging out with my homies at the New Year's party. But that was fucking 2 months ago. Like, what? It seems like nothing.
Yeah.
Or like, man, I'm 30 years old. I get what the fuck happened to the first 30 years, you know? Like, goddamn.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard a theory on that, at least, is like when you're 10 years old, you only have 10 years worth of time to compare your life to, because you only live for 10 years. As you get older, as you're 20 years old now, your time to compare has doubled since your 10-year-old self. So time feels shorter and shorter because you have a bigger grouping of time to compare it to, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something along those lines. I probably butchered it.
I don't know. Conceptually, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But it's also, like, I mean, it's even Why is it that the last hour of the workday feels like it literally takes forever to go by, but when you're hanging out doing a podcast or you're having fun, or when you are having a New Year's party, it feels like it goes by like that, you know? It's like, oh, what? Shit, it's already 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
God damn it.
I just got here, man. Yeah. Yeah, it's so annoying.
You get there, you talk to this person, you talk to this person, you talk to this person, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, you have to go home.
Yeah, fuck. Like, God damn it. Yeah. Yeah, brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, why do all the shitty things last longer
Yeah.
and the fun things are just evaporate?
Yeah. What kind of, why is that like a mental thing? And like, cause that's like a phenomenon that happens to everybody.
Yeah, right. Like that old saying, like time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Like that's we've heard that for so long.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I always like try to think if there's some sort of like, you know, biological meaning or advantage for having things that way.
Yeah. Same here.
Or like, yeah, I don't know. I can't think of one.
No, I can't think of like why that would be like biologically advantageous, but I do the same thing. Anytime there's like a weird behavior or a quirk or something in human behavior, I'm like, why did this evolve this way? Why did we evolve to be like this?
Yeah, maybe it's like something to do with like just how we tend to focus more on negative things than positive things. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
Is why it's perceived to last longer. Like, but I don't know. I don't really know.
Yeah. Like inherently, at least negative things and rough times have at least I found they have a greater impact on my life than good times. Like good times are awesome and everybody likes good times and having fun is amazing. It's why we're alive. But the things that really change you as a person and the things that give you character and the things that make you a better person are those fucking difficult times, those rough times, those shitty ass, terrible times. That's when you learn something.
Yeah. No, it's true. So I'm just like wondering why I'm not the best person in the world because I've been dragged through the shit for so long. Not totally serious, but yeah, man, no, it's true. Like when like things are easy and like nothing's pushing back at you, like it doesn't force you to like change or restructure how you're acting or thinking. Like, yeah, there's no discomfort and there's no growth. So yeah, I definitely believe that to be true for sure.
Yeah. And I think the thing is also is you have to be willing to, because you can just go through bad times, you know what I mean? And you can do your best to try and avoid those bad times by like distracting yourself or medicating yourself or whatever it may be. You can not take the lessons that you need to learn from those bad times if you're not willing to. I think you need to have a certain amount of like introspection. I don't know. We all know those people who are like, at least I know somebody, I'm thinking of somebody very specific of who I work with. They're like 50 years old and they are one of the most negative people that I know. You know what I mean? Like, they go on vacation and they're like, oh yeah, it's probably going to rain the entire time. Or you tell them you're going on vacation. They're like, oh yeah, but watch out about this and all these shitty parts of this country you're visiting. It's like, they're just the most negative person in the world. And
yeah,
I think it's just because they just, I don't know, they don't have the introspection to be like, well, like your negativity is causing this feedback loop of negativity. Like when you react negatively towards people, people react negatively towards you, which makes you react negatively. Like you have to kind of have this introspection to be able to like break out of that loop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that person needs to do some mushrooms, I think. You know, slip some into their tea in the morning or some shit.
Just smoke weed. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
just something. But yeah, I don't know. I don't I don't know if it's willingness or capableness or whatever, is willing to look at hard times or difficult times and be like, oh, okay, like, yes, this sucks, but it'll get better. Or yes, this sucks, but like, look at all these cool things I learned from this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like when things are bad, like a lot of people say they'll get better.
Yeah.
And that might just happen from the natural ebb and flow of life. But I think like you need to work to make them better.
Mm-hmm.
Like things aren't just going to fall into your lap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've dealt with like depression for a really long time, and it's not going to get better because I want it to.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get better because I'm working at it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's, life is fucking hard.
Yeah.
And you have to like, most things are hard work. Like you just need to like work at them and like just grind through the bullshit. And like, you know, when you've been in like suicidal states, you kind of see these like 3 different paths. You know, one is just like end it, and that seems easy and whatever. That's one way out. Another way is to like just keep doing what you're doing and just suffer needlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but there's also like, you know, a third option, and maybe there's more, but the third option is like, you know, just take small steps to like improve your life some way, like every day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Just start with small things, understand that like it's going to take time, but also understand that it's just not going to like fall into your lap.
Yeah.
Like life isn't fair, and just because you've been like kicked in the teeth for 30 years doesn't mean like you're going to get a break. Like you need to do the work to like make the breaks happen for yourself, you know. It's just like, that's one thing I really don't like about the mental health stigma, is like people saying like, you know, it won't always be this way.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's going to get easier. Like, yeah, it might, but it could get shittier.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can put in work to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And no one really tells you like you have to be the catalyst, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one that has to like put in the work. Other people can only do so much for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which is honestly very little.
Yeah, but like it's hard to hear that
Yeah.
for some people when you're in that fucked up state,
Yeah.
that mental state. But like it sucks because like when you're that low, you just want like a way out, you know, like you want your life to get better, but
Yeah.
you have to make it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just gonna happen.
No, you have to be willing to put in the work for sure. And like people may want to help, and they can help in the best way that they can, but the only way that they can really help is by telling you what worked for them, which might not work for you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody's going to deal with it the way they deal with it. And unfortunately that does have to be it's a very personal battle. And it's hard. Like you said, life is just fucking hard. And it doesn't get easier. I don't think it doesn't get easier.
No.
In my experience, it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Not to laugh, but like it kind of does in a way, yeah.
But like that doesn't mean like, yeah, that can sound very negative and terrifying or whatever, but it doesn't mean that it also gets better and better. Like,
Yeah.
in my experience, it does both. The low times are lower, the high times they're higher. I don't know. But yeah, it's putting in the work, setting small attainable goals, just making those small moves, and yes, realizing that it doesn't happen overnight. And the thing is you can get into a point where you're like, wow, I feel great, this is awesome, life is going good, and then the next day you're like, fuck, where did that go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, why is everything shit again? It's a fucking roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
You're up, you're down. Like, small attainable goals, though, I found them very beneficial. Like, I started making my bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just need to like get the wins where you can, you
Yeah.
know? And like So I've been using Sam Harris's app, the Waking Up app, and there's this one lecture called Problem Solving, and like he explains, he was talking to one of his friends, and he's like, "Oh, I have these problems, blah blah blah. This is what they are," and then his friend was like, "Well, you're just gonna have problems for the rest of your life. They're never gonna go away. But what they are and like the magnitude of them is just gonna change."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, damn!" Like it was kind of scary because I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm literally always gonna have problems."
Yeah.
But like, I never really thought about it that way. Where like, like I think a lot of people try to work to this point where their life is just like easy and there's no problems, but there's always going to be problems.
Yeah.
But I guess instead of working to eliminate them, you're just kind of like trying to change the magnitude and what the actual problems are.
Yeah.
Because like they're always going to be there, but they can be like way less shitty and like, the magnitude of them.
Yeah.
And they can be different. But I was just like, oh, damn, yeah, that's kind of spooky, but like it makes sense, like, yeah, we're always going to have problems, but it's just like how you deal with them and like how you work to chip away at their shittiness, you can make them less shitty.
Yeah, definitely. It's mental exercise, basically. That's what mindfulness is, even. You just, you become aware of what's happening in your mind because like we're barely in control of what's fucking going on up there.
Yeah, man, it's scary. Like, so I've been doing the Vipassana meditation for maybe like 4 months, and like I honestly think like it gets worse at the beginning because like before you start meditating, it's just like whatever, a random mess up there, and you don't really understand what's happening, but then you become aware of like the noise and how many thoughts you're having, and it like gets scarier before it gets any better because you're just like oblivious, and then all of a sudden you're aware of just the fucking chaos in your mind, and you're like, oh my god, this is insane, right? And then that's like kind of scary, and then very very like gradually you like kind of learn to be able to just focus on something or just relax for very brief moments, and then I don't know, the brief moments get slightly longer, like a couple milliseconds.
Yeah.
But it's just this like very gradual thing that, yeah.
You also realize that like you are not your thoughts. Like your thoughts just materialize sometimes, and you're not your thoughts. Like you're not, they're happening. You're not making them happen. You're not thinking about things. You're not like, hey, when you get reminded of something and it pops into your head, you're not actively like being like, okay, I would like to think of this now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thoughts just happen, and that's the weirdest thing is you barely have control over your thoughts, which are the thing that is going to they're going to affect you the most throughout your day. They're going to affect how you interact with people. They're going to affect how you do things, and you barely have control over them.
Yeah.
You can be aware of them, and being aware of them can like lengthen or shorten the time in which you experience them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can change them for sure, but you're not in control of them.
No, it's kind of scary, and it like ties into like, the free will thing. And like, yeah, man, well, I hope I'm not my thoughts, because there's been some spooky ones, you know?
No, dude,
Sometimes you think of fucked up shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're definitely not your thoughts. I think like Sam Harris has said, like the only things you can really control are your thoughts and your actions, but even your thoughts, like to what extent is that true?
Yeah.
Like there's how many thousand thoughts running through your head a day?
Yeah.
How many of them are like actually things you're consciously conjuring? Like less than 1%, maybe?
Yeah.
Like it has to be so little.
Yeah. Like usually they are the reaction to environmental stimuli. Like all the coolest thoughts I've had, like going down super awesome thought processes and like loops and like thinking of really cool like ideas have been triggered by some sort of like maybe podcast or cool conversation I had, or like, I don't know, a box or something. Like they're all like, all these things are triggered, you know? And
Yeah.
I think I don't know about control your thoughts, but you can like filter your thoughts, you know?
Yeah.
And again, it's the same with your actions. I don't know, like a lot, like you can control them in the typical sense of the word, but like, can you really, you know what I mean? Like, are you going to act that way no matter what? So is that control? I don't know.
Yeah. There's definitely like debate that can be had
Yeah.
in that sense, like how much we're actually controlling ourselves versus how much is just like, you know, predetermined by our environment and our, you know, circumstance and all that,
Yeah.
and our genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird because like I think about this a bunch, the whole free will question or whatever, and it's so weird because I simultaneously think we don't have free will, but we do have free will at the same time.
Okay.
I hold those like opinions. Like, I think that we are just reacting to our environment and stuff, and like we are always going to act in exactly the way we are going to act given any situation. If that makes sense. It might not, but I think we also have the ability and the capabilities to change those actions in the future by thinking about it in the present, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a lot of things it does seem like kind of you're just going to do what you're going to do based off factors you can't really control.
Mm-hmm.
But like, was I always going to text you and ask you to do a podcast? Or was that something I like freely, you know, chose to act upon?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how much of that was a product of, you know, whatever,
Yeah.
genetics or environment, or how much of that is just like conscious thought and action?
Yeah.
You know, I think like, I don't think it was 100%. Like, there was some free will at play there, you know.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Like it could be like, but I think the free will that probably caused it was like maybe I don't know, I'm just gonna completely speculate here for a second, but like maybe just give an example, but maybe say you were listening to a podcast at work and you were like, oh man, I remember that time I did a podcast with Cody. It was a good time. I should ask him to do that again. And then you don't. And then next week or whatever, same thing happens. You know, something triggers you like, oh man, Cody, I like hanging out with Cody, blah, blah, blah. And then nothing comes of it. And then say something else, and then you finally send that text. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's like a culmination of all these things, like you making mental checks on your thoughts, basically being like, yes, that is a good thing, I should do that, which eventually leads to you doing that thing. I don't know. That's...
I do think I thought about it more than one time.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't the first time that I was like, text you right away. So
yeah,
maybe you're right. I don't know.
I was just, again, because like I said, I hold both viewpoints. Like, I think that we simultaneously don't have free will, but we do have free will at the same time. And I know it's a complicated thing to...
Yeah.
But I think we are constantly reacting to our environments based off of our genetics and past experiences, but we have the capability to alter those reactions by making mental notes of the things that we don't like when we are reacting.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems totally plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reason I texted you, I think we both just read or are reading *Sapiens*.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, based off something in that book, I like, you know, maybe I didn't think, but my, you know, determinism conjured this thought in my brain of this philosophical idea that I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
And that idea is like, does human life have any intrinsic value?
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm like, man, I should talk to Cody about this.
Yeah.
And honestly think the answer is no,
Yeah.
because, and it's based off kind of something from Sapiens. I don't know if this picture was in the book, but like I saw this like kind of diagram where, the left side was just like, a bunch of different animals in a circle, and then like humans were in that circle, and then the second image was humans in the middle, and then the circle of animals, and it was kind of like a visual demonstration of how like humans just used to be like, part of the ecosystem. We weren't really special. We were just like part of the earth. And then like the cognitive revolution happened, and we gained like ego and, theory of mind and all these different things. And like in the, time era of the first diagram where we were just like, kind of harmonious with nature, like it seems like there's no real like intrinsic value to like a specific human life. Like there's no crazy hierarchies where there's like billionaires and then people in poverty. There's no like huge disparity like that. Like there's no financial disparity. Like I'm sure there would have been some humans and tribes that were like better hunter than others, and maybe there was some like social disparity within the tribes, but it wasn't this like huge exaggerated like scale that there is now, where like there's like perceived value of humans based on like a lot of different like currencies, like looks or like financial status or like power or whatever it might be. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think like human lives only have value because we apply value to human lives.
Yeah, and that's kind of what like what I'm riffing on is like we are only important because we think we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I don't think before the like cognitive revolution that humans saw themselves that way. They were just, I don't know, trying to survive and protect their tribe and just go through life, whatever. I don't know. Well, it's impossible to say like how much was going on up in their brain and their thoughts or whatever, but like it seems like it's a direct like cause from like the cognitive enhancements that humans got, that they this like concept of like value and importance and ego got like kind of born into Homo sapiens. Yeah. How does that like apply to like current day, right? Because obviously there is perceived values for humans based off what they do and say and how they act. And there's also like this notion that like every life is special and every life is important. And yeah, I don't know, it's kind of scary to think about, but like I don't even know if that's true now. Like what like I don't I don't want anyone to just like get born and then like die needlessly. I'm not saying we should like harm anybody, but like I don't know if it's just like objectively true that every human life has value. Like now. And like what are there's and how do you like accumulate value of the different types, like, and it's obviously like subjective and it differs by societies and locations and all this different stuff. And like what does that mean for like social interactions and just a whole bunch of different things. There's a lot of different implications there.
Well, I think that's the thing too, is that the value of human life is so subjective. I think like a lot of people like to, obviously everybody would love to believe that and that everybody probably says that they believe that all human life is equal, all human lives are equal. But if you really look at it and you really press people on it, are all human lives equal and
Like,
equally valuable?
They're just not.
They're just not, and that's a fact. You cannot tell me that if you were put up with the choice of who is going to live and who is going to die, a doctor who performs brain surgeries on children for free and saves their lives versus a 65-year-old pedophile who has done nothing but crime his entire life. You're not just going to eeny, meeny, miny, moe that shit. You know what I mean?
Like, you're not going to pick the kid diddler, pick the doctor. Like,
Yeah.
like, he has more value to the people around him.
Yeah.
And to the, like, society he's living in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, like... and I'm not trying to say I don't believe in basic human rights, but I'm just trying to, like... It's just a philosophical thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me.
I don't think anybody will get mad. I hope none of you get mad. I hope that people listening to this can realize that, you know, we're good people.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. It's okay if you don't value our human lives.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I really haven't done much for anybody,
Yeah.
so...
It was between me and a doctor. Pick the doctor.
Yeah, dude, I'm getting murdered straight up. Take the trolley problem, but with, like, me and a doctor, no one's choosing me.
No, nobody's choosing me.
And I'm
either.
fully aware of that. Yeah.
Unless it is one of my friends.
Yeah, then you better fucking believe you better choose me.
Yeah, and even then it's a hard choice.
Yeah. Oof.
But yeah, I think, like, life only has the value that we apply to it. And it's not even just human life. It's even animal life. You know, people will save dogs all day long. Can't eat dogs. Terrible thing to eat dogs. But fuck cows and pigs and chickens and all that shit. That's fine to eat.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot of it is just like decades and decades of just like conditioning to view certain animals in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause like there's no like natural order set upon by like earth or some divine power that's like, dogs are sweet, don't eat them. Like, we've just decided collectively as a people that we don't, well, most of us, there's some countries do it, let's not lie, but but like, you know, in our, you know, in the country that we live in North America, like, yeah, dogs are like pets, cats are pets, like, we don't eat those, but like, fucking, let's go to like, there's like 8 fucking fast food restaurants in every 2 blocks that you can go eat dead cows and dead chickens, and
all
like
day
no
long.
one blinks a fucking eye, you know,
Not even
except maybe vegans, but fuck vegans, dude.
Yeah, fuck vegans.
Yeah, vegans suck, man.
God, eat some eggs or something.
Yeah, you fucking crazy assholes. Any... Yeah, but like even it's like even like wild animals that people just look at as like cuddly or whatever, like bears. If there's like a overpopulation of bears and people are like want to hunt or kill bears, people like some people just like kind of freak out.
They lose their shit.
Yeah, and they're like, man, why are you killing these bears? Bears are our friends. I'm like, no, man. Bitch, the bear's gonna fucking murder you. The bear doesn't care about you. No, it's not your friend.
The bear doesn't not give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
The only reason it isn't eating you right now is maybe because it already ate.
Yeah. You're an afterthought because it fucking went fishing this morning.
Yeah. It ate a bunch of fucking salmon and it's full.
Yeah, if it wasn't full,
you'd be dead.
bitch, you're getting slurped up.
Yeah. It doesn't even kill you first. It just starts eating you.
Yeah, that's a dick move.
Yeah.
And you want to be friends with that?
Yeah, fuck that shit.
Yeah, no. But yeah, it's kind of silly, but like we're just so used to it. Used to viewing certain animals in a certain way, and it's like it just feels like there's this like decades long wave pushing against you, and if you try to like change it, you're just gonna drown, right? Like it would be so hard to like convince this society to start eating dogs.
Oh God.
You know, like that it would just be normal. Like people would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Even if they came out and they were like, you know what, eating dogs would actually save the environment.
Yeah, people are like, no, I
No,
can't
fuck
eat my
that.
dog.
Yeah.
And like, you know, that's not the only factor.
No.
Like I understand that like, you know, we've kind of coexisted with dogs or wolves, like, you know, in an evolutionary sense for a really long time. So we have these like, I don't know.
I mean, it's the same with cows, though. We've just domesticated them in a different way, you know. Instead of them being our friends, they're like, we're gonna fucking eat you.
Yeah. Why didn't we fucking? Well, I probably know the answer to this. Why didn't we like, you know, make cows our like companions and just fucking eat dogs and put them in fucking farms and shit? Yeah. Obviously, there's an obvious, you know.
Cows are like the perfect domesticatable animal. They're so derpy and dumb and large and just like.
Yeah, they got lots of meat on them. Like, yeah, it makes sense. They serve a purpose. Like.
Yeah, I was actually thinking though of like, you know, you were saying that we eat certain animals because of, you know, decades long, basically cultural things. You know, culture tells us these are the animals we eat. You know what I mean? The society that we live in, because in India they don't eat cows.
Yeah,
cows are sacred to them. They don't eat cows or whatever. It's like people hate you if you go and move a cow off a road or whatever. So like, and that's a cultural thing as well. And you said, you know, it'd be hard to like fight against that and be like, hey, we're all gonna eat. But it's not just with what we eat. It's about like everything we do as well. You know.
Yeah.
It's not just what we eat, but it's how we interact with each other. It's how we dress. It's like culturally appropriate language and stuff like that. As at some point, like culture dictates what we do so much. It dictates how we dress. It dictates how we treat each other. It like romantically and platonically as friendships, or it dictates how much we work. It thrusts upon society all these values that it's like a collective agreement. It's kind of strange.
It is, yeah. And, you know, that can be really frustrating sometimes, you know, because I think there's a lot of things that could be beneficial to people that are, you know, illegal or socially, culturally frowned upon. And, like, I think a lot of it just boils down to like, you know, like money and greed and like I think part of it's just this kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say natural, but just this like kind of circumstantial thing where like it's not just one person like pushing these ideals. It's just kind of this like cultural momentum that isn't like, you know, some wizard behind a fucking curtain like pulling the strings and making it this way, but it might just be like, you know, momentum of many decisions over a long period of time by different people in power. But yeah, like excuse me, I hate that I can't, or that, you know, I speak freely about psychedelic drug use, and you know, it's not without fear because it's illegal. And like, you know, obviously this is a fictional story and I would never do drugs, but even the fact that I have to say that to like protect myself just seems crazy to me. Because they've been like, you know, such a positive tool for me in my life. And I legitimately think they made my life so much better. And like the place where I work, which I will not name, is a safety sensitive job, and we recently in Canada legalized marijuana. But at my job, you can't use marijuana ever, even outside work.
Really?
There's a zero tolerance policy, and it's just like them covering their ass, right? They don't want to get like, they want to have something to happen, and they're just being extra careful. And I don't, you know, there's more to it than that, but like a lot of it comes down to liability and not. They don't want to lose money, and like, I'm sure part of it's them wanting to be safe too, and like there's a lot of just like, there's not enough education about how you know, THC and CBD affects people. There needs to be more research. Like, I got this, you know, CBD oil, and I, you know, wanted to use it to, you know, help out with some things in my life. And I went to, like, you know, someone at the company, and I was like, hey, if I use this and, like, you know, there's an incident and I got drug tested, could I lose my job? And they're like, yes, you know, so I can't, and like, even if it has very trace amounts of THC, they're like, yeah, you're putting yourself at risk by using this like non-psychoactive like CBD product. And I'm like, man, this is so fucking silly.
That is silly.
You know, even in a job where safety is paramount, like not being able to use CBD, even like if I have a month off before I use it, is so silly to me.
That is silly. And, like, the thing that's really silly to me is they probably don't have a rule in effect for alcohol, and you can't use alcohol, you know, off duty or whatever, you know. Like, obviously nobody's going to work drunk, but it's ridiculous. I feel like I don't understand how people can still be so, like, not educated just on, like, marijuana in general. And, like, the real risks and benefits, because there are risks too, like, don't get me wrong, there are risks with smoking marijuana. Some people just shouldn't smoke marijuana. Like, all things aren't for everybody, you know, like,
totally.
But some people do get a lot of benefit from marijuana, and it is a medicine, and that's more than you can almost say about alcohol. So
yeah, well, it's just part of the cultural seasoning thing. Like, we're just used to drinking alcohol for so long that it's just like normal. And, like, you know, it's a huge industry now, and, like, I think it's honestly one of the most dangerous drugs out there. And it has this like weird separation in our like nomenclature and stuff. Like, our workplace has a drug and alcohol policy. Why is it just a drug policy? We don't have a, you know, a fish and salmon policy. It's like redundant, you know, like like, why isn't it just a drug policy? Why is alcohol separate? And why can we use this, like, you know, drug that can clearly cause impairment anytime outside work, but we can't use a non-psychoactive, like, you know, thing like CBD literally ever.
It's especially the fact that you can't use CBD. Like, whatever, if you want to make some stupid rule about THC because you're uneducated, like, okay, I get it, whatever. It is a hallucinogen to some people, and it can cause, like, psychotic breaks in some people, very rare people, but CBD is non-psychoactive, and it has only benefits. Like,
I don't know how to really fix that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it might just kind of get better over time as there's more, like, science to back up how harmless it is, especially for, like, CBD. Even with, like, THC, like, there's got to be some way to prove that it doesn't impair your judgment, like, 12 hours after you've used it, or whatever period of time, I don't know. But, like, just to make the point that, like, it's definitely okay to use it, like, on your day off or something, or even, I'm sure there's whatever, a certain amount of hours, and it's probably different for everybody because of their bodies or whatever, but just take, like, the most extreme example of how long it lasts and just, like, make that your cutoff period or something, you know? Like, there's got to be a better answer than
a full-on
then you can never use it ever outside work ever, even though it's legal. You know, it's got to be something. And, like, it's frustrating a lot of people.
Well,
and
like,
rightfully so.
Can you do, like, would you be able to do that with any other legal substance? Like, any other legal substance? Like, is there any other legal substance out there where you're, like, where a workplace can just be like, you can't use this at all? I can't think of an example.
No.
So, like, how is that even? That's almost like infringing on people's personal freedoms and rights.
It is, yeah.
So like how, like I feel like that has to change at some point, because you're literally, yeah, you're violating your employees' freedoms basically. You can't. Yeah. Okay. The whole thing is yeah.
It's just fucked, and it's not fair.
Yeah,
and it's wrong.
I think things like that they have to change. You know what I mean? Like this is still like marijuana being a legal thing. It's still it's not even 6 months old yet. You know?
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, it's weird for maybe people like me or you, because like I've been around marijuana since I was a teenager. You know, my dad smoked marijuana when I was a teenager. I found out he smoked marijuana when I was a teenager. So marijuana's just always been like a thing in my life. Like when I did turn 18, I started smoking weed with my dad. My parents started letting me smoke weed in the house and stuff like that. So it's always just been such a normal and harmless thing in my life that it still boggles my mind slightly to find out that people think that it's like this dangerous, life-ruining fucking substance that's going to like ruin society or whatever. Like,
yeah, the war on drugs was a massive failure.
yeah, it's a really massive failure, but it like brainwashed a generation. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
yeah,
There's a lot of things like I like looking into like, you know, like conspiracy theories and thinking about weird shit, like, you know, to do with like space and the universe. But like I think it is a little it does fuck with me a little bit sometimes. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you listened to the Alex Jones episode with Joe Rogan, but man, some of the shit that he says, you're like, man, what if that's true?
Yeah,
like, that's so fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't honestly be surprised anymore, but like, some of the stuff just like weighs on you, and it's almost like healthier to just ignore it in some sense. Like, yeah, it's just overwhelming how like just fucked up and backwards the world is in a lot of ways, and it can like wear on you for sure.
And I think that's why there's a lot of mental health issues in today's society, is because we are just so much more aware of everything that's going on around us. We're aware of the landslide that happened in Chile, or the volcano that erupted in Hawaii, and the fucking genocide that's taking place in the Congo. We're aware of all of that shit, you know?
Yeah.
And it's all shitty and it's all terrible. And we're aware of it all. Like, but back in the day, even 100 years ago, we wouldn't be aware of that. We wouldn't be aware of the fucking genocide in the Congo, or the landslide in Chile that killed thousands of people, or whatever. We would be aware of what happened on the nightly news, like local shit, what's happening in the country at the maximum, you know, with like a little bit of foreign news, I'm sure. But like, with the advent of the internet, now we are just aware of it all. We are literally aware of everything that's going on in the world. And that Alex Jones podcast was freaky. Just like, I feel like you have to ignore most shit that comes in your way. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's just, I don't know, if you think about too much of it, I don't know, man. It's just like, personally, it just like wears on me. I'm like, man, like a lot of this shit is just like so fucked up and dark and corrupt and like evil, you know, and like nefarious. You're like, man, what hope do I have to like have a good life?
Yeah, and if you really start thinking about like the universe and shit and the earth we live on, like climate change is a real thing, and it's like most scientists say that we're already like we've gone too far and we're fucked. Like, so like, how do we change that? And like, you gotta kind of have to ignore that, because that's just something that's hurtling us to another destruction. And also comets in space that could hit us at any moment. Ignore that shit. To be happy, you really have to. You can be aware of things, but you can't let those things rule your life, I think.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm very smart, but I think it would be so much easier to just be an idiot, you know? Like, you're just, like, not aware of any of this, and you're just, like, bumbling through life, like, happy-go-lucky. I'm like, man.
Yep, dude, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, like, straight up.
We talked about it so many times on this podcast, but, like, all those cliches, they're... As you grow older, you realize how true all those cliches are. And then that they are cliches for a reason because they are true, you know?
Yeah, like there's a reason they stuck around for so many years, yeah.
There's a reason everybody says those things. It's because it's true.
Yeah. Like annoyingly true, but true, yeah.
You like want it so badly to not be true that sometimes you act in ways that are completely against those things, and then you're like, oh, cliche.
Yeah.
I guess ignorance is bliss, or man, money doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's just true though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like stuff like I think about death a lot, and like, you know, I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with the idea of dying, and you know, I think about how much of like religion and spirituality maybe is like a protection mechanism to kind of like let you focus on life and like take away the fear of what happens after. And like I had this thought, like, you know, maybe, you know, we do go somewhere when we die. Maybe it's in a different dimension. Maybe heaven is real. Maybe there is a God. I don't know. But like, say I had this thought, okay? So say you die and you go to whatever, let's say the DMT universe or some other place, you know, other plane, let's say.
Yeah. And
then, but one day, like, isn't the universe going to die? So when the universe dies, what happens to you then? Like, yeah, does everything just cease to exist?
Yeah.
Or what happens there? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, isn't the universe expanding at a crazy rate, but it's supposed to like collapse in on itself at some point? Like it's not gonna last forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. and like it seems really weird to me that we are so like, humans just seem to be, well, not all of them, there's definitely some dolts out there, but there's a lot of people, like I think me and you included, that are just like kind of naturally inquisitive, and we think about all this crazy shit a lot, like, you know, what happens after we die, like how do we get here, all this different stuff. But like the most like pressing and like haunting questions are questions that we can never really answer. And it just seems like some sick like joke that like we're just like striving constantly to answer these unanswerable questions. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, man, maybe someone just made us like that to fuck with us. I don't know, man.
I think it's like the curse of our consciousness, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also think that that's why religions are so popular, is because they provide those answers.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to like think about that stuff and be like, okay, so how did we get here? Huh. Wow. Oh, what happens after we die? Huh. Wow. But religion provides those answers, you know? So it's like, oh yeah, no, when we die, we just go to heaven or hell, whatever. So just live a good life. You'll go to heaven, right? Like,
Yeah,
look.
easy, yeah.
No, we're here because God put us here, yo. He's the creator of the universe. He has a master plan for all of us.
Yeah, dude, we're fine.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Everything's good. Oh, it's just God's plan. It's just God's plan. Oh, that car accident? God's plan.
Yeah.
It's way more comforting to think that, you know what I mean?
It's just easier in a lot of ways.
It is.
And I don't necessarily think a bunch of people are like consciously thinking like, oh, hey, it'll be easier if I believe there's a heaven, so I'm going to join religion. No, I don't think it happens like that.
I don't think so either.
Probably extremely rarely, I think. You know, a lot of people are just like born into it, or like...
Or they don't know that that's the hole they're trying to fill in their life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not even like consciously aware of like what they're doing, maybe.
Yeah.
And it just like kind of makes sense to them, and like it brings them some sort of peace. So
Yeah.
it's just like, you know, it makes sense for their lives to go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's Joe Rogan who says it all the time, but it's like if a super enthusiastic CrossFitter got to those people first, then they would be CrossFitters instead. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's certain types of people who are just susceptible to like get roped into something like that, because I feel like we talk about it a lot, and I think it's a big subject right now, is like people are lacking their fundamental like tribes, you know? They're looking for like a tribal connection, that community that just like kind of has evaporated, especially in Western society, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think people look for it in places like the church, like CrossFit, like liking a sports team or whatever it may be. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think like to my own detriment, I'm trying to like, you know, free myself from tribalism, if that makes sense. Which I like not fully, like, you know, I still value some aspects of that, like, you know, having, you know, a close-knit group of friends and family, but just like I think thinking in that way can be harmful and not really conducive to the, like, you know, way I would necessarily want to live. But, you know, it's not all bad, and it definitely makes sense. Like, it's so ingrained in our whatever DNA that we're just like naturally drawn to those types of things. Yeah.
I think that the thing is you create your own tribe, you know what I mean? You don't fall in with a tribe, you know, just because you are like, so as an example, like, why be a Calgary Flames fan or whatever just so that you can be friends with all these other Calgary Flames fans who you don't really like, you know, because like you're super different from them or whatever. But like, so like cultivate your own tribe, you know. I think that's important, is like cultivating your own community, because we're not close with our communities now. So we're intentionally making communities. We're intentionally adding people to our groups, to our tribes and stuff like that. And that's what your friend group is. That's what your family is. Like, it's the people you choose to devote your attention to, essentially, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The tribes of the new age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New age tribes.
Yeah.
But it's weird. They, like, again, it's something I heard on a podcast, but somebody was saying, I think it was like Johan Hari or whatever.
Johan Hari?
Yeah. He was saying the whole thing about, like, people were polled and they were asked how many people, if shit really hit the fan, could you rely on? And the answer used to be like 5 people, that if shit really hit the fan, I could rely on those people. Now I guess the average is 0, or the average is 1, but most people say 0 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Fuck. Like, that's just, I couldn't imagine that, you know. I couldn't imagine living that sort of life. Just literally, if something terrible happened, literally having nobody to turn to.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily that's not the case for me. Yeah, neither it is for you, I'm guessing, but yeah, that's scary to think about.
Yeah. It helps to realize that those people are out there, though, that people are hurting that badly, and that your interactions with people are going to affect them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter, like, I'm sure you've had a random interaction with a stranger where they're just like positive to you, or they say something nice to you, and that changes your entire day, or it changes, you're maybe having a shitty day and somebody's nice to you and bam, day's going better or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
And it's the same with shittiness, you know? And like and some people are already in such a shitty state because, say, their wife left them, and then they go out to do groceries, but they forgot their wallet, so they had to run back. Then they go back to the grocery store, and then on the way to the grocery store, they have engine troubles or whatever, and they like their car putters into the parking lot, and then they park in the parking lot, and then they go to get a cart, and fuck, they can't get the cart because it's broken or whatever, so then they go into the grocery store, and then they interact with you, and they're shitty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, what are you gonna do? Like, you being shitty back to them is going to perpetuate their shittiness and make it worse. But you have the option to take that shittiness and just either blow it off and react like nothing happens so you don't make their situation worse, or you can even try and make their situation better, you know?
Yeah.
It's weird to think that literally every interaction you would have with every single human that you interact with can affect their entire day.
Yeah, totally. And like I used to kind of be in the mindset that like, yeah, if someone was shitty to me, I'd be like, you know what, fuck this person, like they can suck my ass.
Yeah.
But like now I just kind of like, well, I think this is true. I just have this theory that like, you know, most of the time people like who are shitty are just like in pain, you know?
Yeah.
And just kind of looking at it from, I'm like, oh, this person isn't like, you know, an asshole. They're just like probably struggling and not doing well, you know?
Yeah.
And like, it's a lot easier to have compassion when people are shitty to you. If you just like take that approach to perceiving them like, oh, you're not an asshole. You're just like in a lot of pain. Like you're suffering, you know? And it's easier to like, be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to say fuck this person. I'm going to be like, you know, try to react positively or, you know, not take it personally or not keep feeding back into that negative feedback loop of their life. Yeah,
exactly. And it's a turning point that I had in the way that I interact with people. I've probably told this story before, but like Chester was really sick one time. It was emergency. I was driving him to the emergency room in my car. I had him in the cat carrier. He was freaking out. He was meowing. I was super worried about him. I wasn't paying attention to the road, and I was driving like an asshole. As I was in that moment and in that situation, something clicked in my brain where I was like, what if all people who drive like assholes are in this exact same situation that I'm in? Or worse, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just made me way more forgiving of people who drive like assholes. That being said, it doesn't mean that I'm just like this angel on the road now who doesn't get mad every once in a while, but I am like 90% better than I used to be, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that ties into the whole like meditation thing, just being able to like kind of see, just like, you know, be aware of like that anger or whatever feeling you're having, and just being able to like, you know, choose to not stay that way. Yeah. And instead of staying angry and like, you know, coming up with things you would say to the person if you saw them in person, you're just like, you know, they're, you know, maybe something's going on. It's not a big deal. Like nobody got hurt. Yeah, you cut me off or whatever, but really nothing happened. So why am I mad, you know?
Yeah. Man, the imaginary battles that I've had with people.
Oh, man, yeah.
Like, holy crap.
Yeah, I still catch myself doing it
Yeah.
sometimes, and I'm like, oh, man, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Or this like, girl from work, I was talking to her a couple months ago, and she was telling me about this concept called maladaptive daydreaming, where, like, you kind of picture future situations and play them out. And like recently, like I don't know why they let me do it, but my brother's metal band let me like go on stage and like do like a part, do like a scream, and then scream some words. And like for the weeks leading up to it, I was just like constantly imagining like what I would do and how it would go, and I'm like, and then I like kind of realized I was doing it with other things in my life, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing this until I knew like about this concept. But it's kind of along the same lines as like the like imaginary like conversations or arguments you're having with people. You're just like thinking about a past or future situation that like didn't happen or might not even happen, that like you're just focusing all this energy on. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely do that, and I like to think at least that it prepares me for any situation.
Yeah. I think there's a difference between like kind of like maybe obsessing over something that might happen and like, you know, athletes do like visualizations and mental preparation. So there's like a line there for sure, but it's not all bad thinking about future
I think
possible situations.
There's like with most things, I think there's like a balance you want. Like you don't want to. I think that it can be beneficial to think about and visualize future situations because, like I said, it may. If you're thinking of the worst possible thing that could happen and that thing doesn't happen and something slightly less worse happens, then you're like, hey, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, like, oh, what a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't complete shit? Awesome. Like, but if you, like, obviously, if you obsess over that, then it can eat into other time. And like we've already said, time is fucking valuable. So you don't want to spend that time obsessing over things and whatnot. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask you. So, yeah, back to like Sam Harris and the app thing. There's this concept about how he like views consciousness. Like, there's this recurring theme where it's like you don't have a head and you're like just consciousness experiencing itself, and like you're just like a physical body tethered to this like dimension as consciousness experiencing yourself. Yeah. So what do you think consciousness is, and where do you think it originates from? Like, what are your thoughts on that? It's a loaded question. I ask this at parties and it doesn't go well.
Well, it's a hard question, right? Because like it's something that scientists have been trying to answer for literally ever.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. Consciousness, what I think consciousness is it's that thing, it's that voice in your head that realizes you're being an asshole, or that voice in your head that is like, hey, what are you doing that for? Hey, stop doing that. Why are you doing that? You know what I mean? I think that's what consciousness is it's that little thing that is like, hey, that's not beneficial for you. Stop doing that. You know, it's that thing that does course correct your free will machine or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that exists as a, it's basically a product of the interaction between our brains, our minds, and our bodies as well. That's my best guess, at least. Obviously, I have no idea.
Yeah, much like everything else, like who fucking knows?
Nobody
really
knows. It's fun to think about, obviously.
Yeah, I just want to think about
yeah.
that type of shit.
Yeah.
And I've been doing a lot of like, well, I was going to say investigation, but that's a strong word for watching YouTube videos and reading articles. But yeah, some people think it's just like, you know, originated or like stems from like your brain, so it wouldn't be there if your like brain is dead. Mm-hmm. But you know, there's also the other train of thought where it's just like constantly there, and it would be there whether you know you're experiencing it or not. Yeah, that's really interesting to me.
And I don't know, because like it even poses the question: is consciousness self? You know what I mean? Is your consciousness what you think of as yourself? Or is consciousness something completely different? I don't know. Yeah,
well, I think Sam Harris would argue that his self is an illusion.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, the self is an illusion.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'm still like, you know, not fully on board with that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what do you mean, man? I'm right here. Like, I can touch myself and, you know, look at myself in the mirror and I don't know. Like, I kind of get what he's saying, but maybe I'm just like too dumb to fully grasp it or something. But I'm like, get where you're going, but like I'm here. Even if I don't like have an identity, there's like a physical.
Yeah. There is a physical self.
Yeah.
There is a physical self. And that's the thing, is you tie that as that is you. And that's what most people think is them. And that is what you are. But is that what you are? You know, like...
Yeah.
Like, are we... Because we're just like... The amount of cells in our body that are human cells is like 10%.
Yeah, it's
We're
a lot
made
of
up of 90% not human cells.
What's the other 90?
It's like random bacteria and organisms living in our guts, and just there's a lot of shit that's going on inside of us to make us a thing.
Yeah, and don't our like all the cells in our body refresh after a certain amount of years?
Yeah.
So like
every 7 years you're a completely different person.
yeah, like on the cellular level,
On the
that's kind of
cellular
fucked up to
level.
think about.
Yeah. So like, and it kind of goes. I read this interesting comic one time, and it was about the invention of teleporting, and how they implicate it, and how this one person refuses to use teleporting technology because they don't want to not be them anymore, and it goes along how like everybody they know who has used teleporting technology is a completely different person now, because to teleport you would have to destroy all the cells of like, you know, human A, transport the consciousness to a point B, and reform the human and inject the consciousness into this reformed human, you know what I mean? So is that the same person at the other end? Like,
Or is it like a clone? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a clone, like, that doesn't know it's a clone.
Fuck, man. I feel like we should get high for the next one of these. Really go down the rabbit hole. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Yeah. But essentially we're doing that every 7 years or so.
Yeah, we're just like very slowly teleporting.
Yeah. Teleporting through the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and then like our body is just made up of the interaction between all these other beings, and we think that that is ourself, when really it's millions of selves. I don't know, like
Just little ones, yeah.
yeah. And it's each one of those little like, oh man. And then you go in, you zoom in on the micro scale, and you zoom in as far as you can go, and it's like 99.9% empty space or something like that. So it's like, what the fuck?
Oh, that's spooky. I wish I didn't know that. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Apparently, this is what I've heard from a couple different places. I don't know if it's still the believed scientific knowledge, but if you zoom in far enough, as far as we can go, it's just like 99.9% empty space in between what's going on. And we're not actually touching anything either. Like, nothing's actually touching. We're all, like, when you go and you touch a book or a table, the only reason your hand doesn't go through it is because of, like, the magnetic, you know, the repelling. The cells are repelling, you know, and that's what makes something like solid. It's, I don't know. I think about a lot of stuff, Branden.
Dude, me too. A lot of it's spooky and probably not helpful to my well-being, but it's fun to think about.
Oh man, the amount of like epiphanies I have had at work randomly, just like doing my job, listening to a podcast or something, and then just randomly it's like, holy shit, we're only like 10% human cells or something like that.
What's the rest?
Yeah.
What is happening?
And then going down that, and you're like, oh man, this is blowing my mind. Or thinking about space. How crazy is space? Like,
yeah, like what is it, dude? Who knows?
We have no idea. We have a little bit of an idea. Such a tiny idea of what space is. We have such a tiny idea of even what the fucking world we live on is. We don't know anything about the oceans. We know like 3% of the oceans.
Yeah. And yeah, it scares me like how little I know about my own body.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know how my fucking gut microbiome works. Like I can parrot these words that I hear smart people say, but like I don't know how the fuck I'm affecting my body when I like crush a Kit Kat. You know, like how bad is it actually? It's like I can't quantify that. You know, like or how beneficial is it when I lift weights for half an hour? Like what is it actually doing to my body? You know, like on a I don't know. Biological, physiological level. I don't know.
And the thing
I don't understand.
And you have to trust people who you think are smarter than you, but those people might not have a fucking clue either, and some of them don't, and it's been proven because things change. Like,
yeah.
We just found out about the gut microbiome like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's just, for as much as we know, there's just like so much more that we don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
And then there's like so much we think we know.
That's like a guess. You're like, we think this is how this works, but we don't really know.
Yeah.
So we'll just accept this until we find something better.
Then 10 years later, I'll be like, yeah, that was wrong.
Ooh, yeah. We were very wrong on that one. Yikes.
Whoops.
Sorry, everyone. Yeah.
But like, what else? Like, that's all you can do, right? Like, there's nothing else you can do. Like.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of like my issues, I think, boil down to that. I spend a lot of time focusing on like things or issues that like I really can't change. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't know, man. Can't stop thinking about them.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot about like just stuff that we don't have a lot of like data on that's like newer to us. Like, how bad is looking at a cell phone screen for like 30 years for your eyes?
Yeah.
You know, or I have a lot of friends that work at the airport. So like, how bad is like every time a plane lands, you can visibly see like this brake dust coming off.
Yeah.
And then there's like these chemicals that they spray the planes with to like de-ice the wings and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, how bad is it for your health to actually work there?
Yeah.
You know, like we don't really fully understand the ramifications of these like newer technologies and industries. And like, yeah, apparently like being a flight attendant is so bad for you because like getting to like 35,000 feet or higher and like the radiation you can get like is apparently just really not good for you.
Yeah, I heard you can only be a flight attendant for so long, or you can only spend so much time in the air or something because of the radiation that you get. Yeah,
well, I hope there's like, you know, a safety measure in place for them. I don't actually really know, but it would make sense. Yeah.
Well, it's like, and also there's so many of the like vaping.
Yeah,
I have no idea what vaping's gonna do like to people.
Yeah, no one's vaped for 30 years or 20 years even, or
nobody's even vaped for 10 years yet. I think.
Yeah, like
we're like maybe just approaching the 10th year of vaping.
Yeah, like who knows what kind of long-term effects that can have on your body.
It's the same with like Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi signals shooting through the air everywhere. That's what, not even 20 years old.
Yeah, I don't even really fully or really even partially get that one. Really, like I don't know.
I have no idea what's happening with Wi-Fi. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like that Alex Jones podcast could fuel like a lot of fucked up thoughts for like years, you know, exploring all that shit he's talking about.
Yeah. I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's just too much, man.
No, I don't want to know if that's true.
They're harvesting animal-human hybrids. They're growing them in the lab and harvesting their parts. They're eating the pituitary glands from babies. Like, oh, God. It's just a lot, you know?
Yeah, he just pelts you with information and just... the topic changes. It's like, how did we get here?
Yeah, you can just rattle off so many things.
That was a 5-hour podcast.
Yeah, it was so long.
It was funny. It was fun. It was entertaining, though. I enjoyed listening to it.
It was entertaining, yeah. But
I laughed quite a bit. But it's also, like, I laughed, but, like, in a kind of, like, oh, I hope this isn't true. I hope this guy's crazy.
Yeah, please just let him be a nut, yeah.
Please.
What if he's right? Like...
Yeah, I know. It's really scary when Joe Rogan starts to be like, you know what? He's freaking me out. I'm like, no.
No. Yeah.
Not Joe. They got Joe. That's a fucking thing nobody saw coming, though, too, is who would have thought that podcasts, audio entertainment, talk radio would be as big as they are.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like everyone thought like the attention span was like dwindling and dwindling, and now like a lot of people are ingesting these like 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 hour podcasts. Like, yeah.
And who would have thought that it would have gone back to like audio, you know, like with all
Yeah.
the visual technology getting better and better, YouTube on your phone, Netflix on your phone, who would have thought that it would be audio that kind of took the reins there?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and I can't really fully explain why I'm so into podcasts, but like part of it is just like the convenience of like commuting and like just being able to like crush like an audiobook or a podcast on your way to work. That's pretty huge.
Being able to listen to things while you're doing other things, like I can listen to podcasts at work, so I go through so many podcasts simply for that reason, because I would hate my job if I couldn't listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
I'd probably quit, I'm not gonna lie. It's like a very menial labor job that the only saving grace is that my mind isn't occupied while I'm doing it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of jobs have like an occupation on your body and your mind. You know, you have to pay a lot of attention to what you're doing, and you can't say listen to podcasts, but mine just has it on my body. I have to be there. I'm kind of like a meat robot, and I get to my mind is free to listen to podcasts. So actually, on the topic of meat robot, I got a massage yesterday. And as I was getting a massage, I couldn't help but thinking, like, as I was getting, like, this is just, like, human maintenance.
Yeah.
Like, they're just, like, lubing up the machine that moves the boxes around in the warehouse, you know what I mean? Because my company's paying for it, so it's, like, they're just making sure I'm an effective, like, machine, a box-moving machine, you know?
Yeah, they're just, like, re-oiling your joints and shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Putting in more lubricant and making sure your robot arms are functioning. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
We're all just meat machines, dude.
Yeah. We're just meat popsicles flying through space.
Interacting with one another.
Yeah, sometimes I will, like, try to, like, put, not in a nefarious or, like, in a pretty benign way, I'll try to, like, push these weird thoughts onto people to, like, make them uncomfortable, like, normal, air quotes, normal people.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I'll just be in the lunchroom at work, and I'll turn to someone and be like, yo, man, you know we're in space right now, right? Like, yeah, we're moving really fast, but we can't feel it. Isn't that weird? You know? Yeah. Or, like, a week or so, I was at a party, and, like, everyone was playing a game, and then it kind of, like, dwindled down, and the host was like, oh, maybe we should just, like, have a conversation. And I was like, oh, what do you guys think happens when we die? And then she's like, you don't get to decide the topic. You know? Like, someone else can pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I do that all the time. And I don't even mean to do it sometimes, but I really dislike it when anybody is 100% sure about anything. Even if I agree with them, I still hate it when they're 100% sure, because I don't think you can be 100% sure about anything.
Yeah, pretty much nothing, I would say.
I don't think,
like,
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Almost nothing.
I don't think there's anything that you can be 100% sure on, except that you can't be 100% sure on anything.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Like, even if you look at, say, murder, like, murder is wrong 99.9% of the time, but there might be that one time, like, hey, if you kill this one guy, we're not going to commit a genocide over here.
or like, yeah. What if somebody just, like, shot Hitler in the head when he was, like, a teenager or something?
Exactly.
And, like, maybe that never happens, and the world doesn't change dramatically. Like,
there's no Holocaust.
You could make an argument, that murder would be beneficial. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's like I said. I don't think that's so. Anyways, like when somebody is 100% sure about something, I tend to poke holes in their arguments a little bit by just being like, well, yeah, but like, what about this situation? Or like, You do realize this, though. Like,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of really fucked up things that could be good. I'm kind of scared to say this, but like, usually rape is bad.
yeah.
But what happens, for example, if a woman gets raped and has a baby, and then that baby cures cancer one day?
Mm-hmm.
The likelihood, extremely small.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know. Maybe there have been
I think
really...
the act of rape is still bad.
Yeah.
But-
Rape is never a good thing to do.
No, but it's still one of those things that 99.99999%, yeah, it's a terrible thing. But
But like,
what
There's
if that
a-
baby cures cancer? But what if it prevents a genocide?
yeah, or like, yeah, what if it just like sets off this weird chain of events that
It
prevents
saves
something
the
worse?
human race.
Yeah. In that fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent, even that is like,
Yeah.
not 100.
It's not 100. That's all I'm trying to say. It's just not.
Yeah,
100.
I'm not pro rape at all.
No, nobody's pro rape here.
Yeah.
There's no pro rape or pro murder people, despite what we've discussed on this podcast.
Yeah, just
Gotta put a caveat on this one.
yeah. Don't murder people.
Don't
rape people.
It's bad.
bad.
It's bad. And even then, like, if somebody's like, yeah, rape is bad, I'm not going to poke holes in that one. Like,
yeah, you know what? We can agree on that. Yeah. I probably could have thought of a less bad example.
No, like, that's a good example because it just proves that everything is not 100%. But when people are 100%, like, in certain things, then I'm just like, even if I agree with them, it's just, for some reason, it just bothers me. And I know it doesn't make me a lot of friends.
It's a filter, man. A lot of things are just friendship filters.
Yeah. That's true. If this person can't have this conversation with me, then fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I think it's because, like, one of my friends in particular, Jordy, obviously. He's been on the podcast before, too. He's really good at doing that exact thing and just poking holes in everything you say. If you're sure about something, he'll be like, hole poking time.
Poke. Yeah, what about this?
Yeah. And he's like, I completely agree with you, but, like, also, there's this part of the argument, and I'm like, I hate you. But I think that's why I'm like that, is because I used to live with him, and I lived with him for so long. And we would have these insane conversations that were just, like, existential and weird, and basically us just poking holes in each other's arguments. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Can't be 100% sure about anything.
No, yeah. I think that's the right way to go. Just like, yeah, not fully being 100% behind everything, because I don't know, we just don't know.
Yeah, but it's hard because people want to be 100% behind stuff, and lots of people are 100% behind stuff, and like, it makes it hard to kind of, I guess you find people like us. So we found each other, and we have a lot of friends who are very similar to us and stuff like that. So it makes you find those people, because people don't like it when you're not 100% sure on things and you're like wishy-washy and in the middle, you know what I mean? Like, people want you to have a stance on stuff.
Yeah, nobody likes, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It could be anything.
Nobody likes hearing that. Nobody likes, so what do you think about blah, blah, blah? It's like, yeah, I see both sides of the argument. Nobody
I don't know.
likes that.
I don't know what's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, well, most people don't like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So it makes it hard sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, another thing that I learned from growing up is I used to be the type of person who, and it kind of goes into what we were talking about, but I used to be the type of person that when somebody asked me what I wanted to do or gave me options for what I wanted to do, I would just be like, I don't care. Because I legitimately did not care. And I would have to convince people that, like, if I have a preference, I will tell you. But I legitimately don't care when I don't care. When I say I don't care.
Yeah.
So I had to, like, learn to be like, okay, just pick something. Like, if you don't care, then just pick something. And then, because people don't like it when you say you don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, I've been trying to like, I think one of the, like you brought up Johann Hari earlier, and I've been really like, thinking about his like concept about addiction and how, and just like mental health in general, about like how connection is like really important to kind of overcoming those things. So I've been like trying to set up a lot of like lunch dates and just like, getting together with friends. And yeah, that'll just happen like, oh, like, what do you want to do? I don't know. Do you want to like go eat? Yeah, where do you want to go? Oh, I don't care. I don't know. And it's just like someone has to just make a goddamn choice and be like, let's go here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've started doing in those situations is presenting options.
Yeah, here's 3
I'm
choices.
just like, hey, so we could do this, or we could do this. Do you have any preference? And then usually they'll pick one. I find, at least. So.
Yeah. It's a good way to go.
Yeah. Because I got stuck in that trap for so long, and then the time would come to hang out with people, and then you'd just be like, well, I don't even want to hang out anymore because there's not even like a set thing we're doing. And
Yeah.
It's so up in the air still. But I agree with, like, I've been trying to be better at that as well, as to just go out and I've lost connection with a lot of people who I didn't want to lose connection with because I've been kind of in this negative spiral for a little bit, but I'm kind of pulling out of it now, and I'm like trying to like get out there and make connections with all these people that I haven't talked to in a while and stuff like that. And you realize that after you've sat alone in your basement for like 4 days straight and done nothing, that you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's just not good for anybody.
Yeah. Is there anything, final things you want to say?
Yeah, don't rape. Rape is bad. I don't believe in it.
No
Murder is bad. Yeah, don't do it. Tell your friends you love them. Don't be afraid. Just, we're all gonna die. Make life less painful
for everybody.
Just yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to express yourself. A lot of these things are friendship filters. Just find the ones that belong in your life. Just go balls to the wall.
Balls to the wall, because we're all gonna die.
Yeah, fuck it, dude.
Fucking
And who knows what's gonna happen after.
Yeah. Exactly. What if we all die and we just end up in like, I don't know, we all still end up together in just this other alternate dimension or something like that? And we're like completely aware of the previous dimension, and we're just like,
oh man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is the answer? God damn it. Yeah.
And also, on some of the subject matter, we may talk like we know what we're saying, but we really don't.
I'm a silly ape. I don't really know anything at all.
We're all just guessing.
Yeah.
These are our thoughts and our opinions.
Or maybe they're just the product of determinism.
They are.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. They are the product of determinism. I was going to say those things no matter what to you, broadcast to you, and you need to hear them. That's why you're listening to this podcast, because you need to hear the things that were said in this podcast. So really think about the things that were said and let them change your life.
Yeah. Perfect.
If you liked this episode of the podcast, why not leave a review? You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. For up-to-date information on the podcast, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us at FrogE Style Productions. That's Frog, the letter E, Style Productions. For more ways to support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.